something to sit there, but it's you got to understand you're risking that in a sense, like all of it. And if you don't collect at least something, like let's say if you buy 10 contracts and you're just holding everything, you're risking losing all of that. Like what if you get to a big OI level and there's so much taken profit, it goes down $2 and now you're in the negatives. Um, and I think when you start to experience that happening like a lot, then that's when the discouragement starts to get into your head, and then you really feel as if you can't do it. And I guess it just can start to mess with your trading psychology a lot.
Yeah, I got into this play today. Not today. This week. It was AI,
Mm.
and I was up like 80% on it, and I'm a rookie still, so I shouldn't have took the swing trade. But I was kind of expecting it for it to beat the earnings, and it did beat the earnings, but then it just completely tanked. So I was like, damn. If I had two contracts, I would have took profit on one, and then the other one I would have let it run. But it happened exactly how you said. Like I was in profit, and then it just I lost it all. So
Yeah, no, I would never recommend doing earnings. It's more of a gamble. But I mean, for now, I would just really suggest stick to SPY Qs and DI until you master those, because the thing is with these, a lot of people they may feel some type of way about trading it, and I understand we all had to go through it, but the whole reason why Clark has us go through this is because if you can understand like how these work, you could trade anything. And I really mean that. Like these are basically telling you how the market's doing, what's going on, what you should expect, and then you'll learn. Once you leave Apprentice, you'll understand why these were so important. Because let's say you want to go into the Ascension and you get there and you didn't master these, you're gonna be lost. Like nothing is gonna make sense. It doesn't matter who's trying to teach you to learn the stuff in the Ascension. If you don't have the foundation, you're gonna have nothing. It's really like having nothing. I think when I joined Ascension, it really pushed me to really tighten up a lot of the skills and go back and rewatch a lot of stuff, because I was like, damn, I kind of was slacking a little bit, and I don't want to feel like I'm in a place where I don't belong. So I knew that that was on me. Only we can hold ourselves to that, right? So
yeah,
whatever you have to do to fix that is what you have to do, and it's different for everybody. It's not like there's one solution. It's every day you kind of have to be that person saying, you know what, I'm out. I'm taking my money and I'm satisfied. And some people can come back second half and continue, but if you know that that's personally not working for you, then come back tomorrow. They really talk about 3% port growth. So let's say if you take $1,000, you start your port with $1,000 and only growing at 3% a day, you really should not be looking for a 10,000% right off the bat. Same thing how when you do paper trading, we're not telling you like, oh, we want your first trades over 200%. No, we're telling you, hey, we want you to experience the profit first. And as you progress, then you're going to start to see that ROI build up, because once you go from getting a 50% maybe a couple days in a row, now you can hit 75, then 100. But if you've never even experienced collecting a 50%, you got a long way to go, because it's just like, how are you going to be able to handle when you see your profits up 500%? Are you just going to stay in and pray for it to keep moving, or you're going to take that profit? It's really all psychological. um Really, really psychological game. But
yeah. Thank you for that. I noticed that it's good to always take like an even amount of contracts, so that way when it does get to a certain amount, like 50%, you could take half your position in, or even if it gets to 100%, you take your profit, and some of your contracts are for free, basically.
exactly. And that's what you want. You kind of want it to be like risk free at the end. That's exactly what you want.
Yeah, I want to work on doing stop loss because sometimes I'm trading while I'm at work, um, and then I'll have to like walk away, and then I look back and I'm like, damn, I should have put a stop loss.
Yeah,
So I
you
gotta.
definitely want to put your stop loss in there. That's because let's say if you have a position size of 300, would you rather lose all of 300 or just 150?
Yeah, 150 basically.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, it may feel like, oh man, but if it comes back up, let's say I'm holding negative 80%, but what if it comes back up? But what if it doesn't? Like it's not guaranteed to have to do anything. So
Yeah.
That's kind of like how I am about it. It's like nobody wants to, like, there's always that hope, but one thing I learned about the markets is prayer and hope do not help you out. They just don't. That works for everything else, but like when it comes to money, you can't use that same logic. It's not going to help you, right?
Yeah, has his own mind.
Exactly, exactly. You see, you know what I'm saying. Um all right. So I guess we're gonna run through the game plan pretty quickly. We do have a couple minutes before open here, you guys. So looks like our 4 hour and our daily, they are bullish this morning. So the trend is definitely bullish. We're still above this 50 fib here on SPY. So the fibs are still bullish. For price action, we do have a lot of contraction this morning. So we did have big reports coming out. What did I do? We had big reports coming out this morning. I think we had, let me see what it was. PPI, Producer Price Index, coming out, and it came out higher. So it looks like the market kind of cooled off. So we'll have to see like what happens at open. But for right now, we've got a lot of contraction. And remember, in order to expand, you have to have contraction. And what did we do yesterday? There was a lot of expansion. So it's either maybe we were going to expand a little bit more or maybe we're going to contract. It has to happen. It's just a process. So I'm seeing a 15 minute, a 30 minute, and a 1 hour gold squeeze here. Um, and then number three, we got the price range right. Oops. So on the price range, what do we got? We got $1.84 for SPY, I believe. So that's about, for ROI, we're talking about 200%. Um, and then four, we've got a couple seconds before we open. I'll go ahead and add to that. Give me 1 second. Somebody, your mic is like echoing mine. You might have to mute yourself. Looks like we've got DIA. We did gap down this morning, so yesterday we closed at around like 529, 530 on Q's, and we did gap down on SPY too. Not too much though, but looks like Q's is the big one here. DIA is stuck right now in that 21 EMA daily. Somebody, your mic is going off. I do not want to have to server mute you. Who is that? Okay. Oh, Dave. I think that was Dave. Okay, we should be good. All right. But looks like for Q's, we just have a 1 hour gold squeeze. You guys can see it kind of looks like it was forming here. Yep. Just a 1 hour gold squeeze. But looks like SPY, we've got the most contraction going on. DIA has been moving down these past couple days. It was on a run for a long time, but looks like it's starting up at 442 here. Stuck right on this 21 EMA daily. Let me see if we have a gap for. I don't really see any gap here for DIA. We do have this 1 minute arrow here on Q's. So, I mean, to the downside, that expected move is right on top of 525. So that's a pretty big level. We already, have seen how 525 has been. Like, even yesterday, we opened up above 525 and we just kept moving right to the next big OI. So if we do start to come down, we would look for this first expected move, which would be right above 525. And then we got the put 30 here on SPY. Looks like DIA is kind of struggling to hold on to this 21 EMA daily. Chains are pointed down for SPY and Qs right now. Here's another signal. And now we are under 527 for Qs. We just got to put 5. Just got another signal. No more gold squeeze on Qs, but we're still very close to it. So if it does pop back up, we could go back into the squeeze. So yep, just trying to see how the market settles with the information. I think we had jobless claims coming out as well today. And Also today at 1 p.m. Eastern, we have a bond auction. So, that's when second half starts. So, market moves to those sometimes. So that's also something just to watch out for. So, for SPY, for the call levels, we do have 606. So calls would be above 606, right? Under 607, we will be looking for puts, right? Looks like got this put 30, put 15 here on SPY. Had a 1 minute arrow, still underneath the Ichimoku this whole time. So definitely, if we get under this fib here, we probably will try to get to the bottom of that 605. And we still have DIA just kind of hanging around here. Hasn't really moved too much. It's just caught up. And we've got Qs dipping under 527 a lot. Yep, just kind of waiting for the market to settle here. Still have DIA now. It's forming a 5 minute gold squeeze, and just like we talked about, we're already back into that 1 hour gold squeeze here on Qs. Bands look really thin over here. Chain is still pointed down. Same thing for SPY and Qs, and now the chain on DIA has started to point down. Looks like we're kind of moving back up here. So remember, we did gap down. So for Qs, I'll go ahead and let you guys know just in case. But it does look like we did just get a 1 minute arrow here for DIA. So that expected move for DIA is right under 440. We do have some big OI zones here at 441 and 440. So since we're already underneath this 21 EMA daily, let's say if we just continue to stay under and we do start to move down, we could look somewhere in this range over here for DIA. But that gap looks like yesterday we closed around like 529.80. So it looks like about a $2.5, $3 gap if we do come back up for today. But right now it looks like we're just getting under 527. Yep, here's a put 5 here on Qs. Put 5, another put 5 here on SPY. Yep. Here's SPY just up and down with this 605, 606. And you still have DIA. Looks like it's testing this 21 EMA daily again. Still have the chains pointing down on SPY and Qs. Here comes DIA. We're right on top of that 21 EMA daily. Chain just turned back around here. You guys can see it over there. Still have the 1, the 2, and the 4 hour. They are bearish right now. And here comes DI. Just got past that 21 EMA daily. We're still having this put 5 here on Q. Still battling like just back and forth between 527, 526. Chain's been pointing down. Yep, DIA is starting to move up here. We are on top of that Ichimoku here for DIA, so that next big zone. We look over here. There's some OI. It's a little bit underneath 1,000 for 444, but still labeled it as a 4 because for DIA that's a little bit for DIA. So pretty close to 1,000. So it looks like it's trying to push past this 21 EMA daily here. And we still have a lot of contraction for SPY. So, let's say if this doesn't break first half, we do have that bond auction. So possibly could break second half if it just stays in contraction till then. Just going to have to wait it out and see. And there's a 1 minute arrow we just got here on Q's. Now we're forming this 5 minute gold squeeze and back into the 1 hour gold squeeze. So the top of the range for this gold squeeze is right at 530. So that's that expected move right here for Q's. Right on top of 530. And that one on the downside is right above 525. And for SPY, looks like that top range of this band here for the 1 hour is right underneath 608. And you guys can see that expected move to the upside is right above 608. Looks like we're at the bottom range right now. Yep, looks like Q's is really holding on to 527 here. And remember, like on the game plan, you guys can see 527. That's where we open up this morning. So as long as we stay above that, could just start to come back up. As long as it holds on to that. And here's another. That put 5 is still sticking here on SPY. Chain's been pointed down this whole time. SPY is still under 606. It's really close though. But you've got DIA just sitting right on top of this 21 EMA daily. Chain still pointed up for DIA, but we are pointed down here on both SPY and Qs. Yep, here's a little pop on SPY. Just got the 1 minute arrow. And look at DIA. It just moved past this 21 EMA daily. As soon as we got here, we kind of saw that strength pick up on the chain. Right? It was pointed up for a while. Got some signals. Still we're sticking here. Got on top of this 21 EMA daily, and now it's just starting to move. So it's in and out with 443 right now. And you guys can see just SPY is really holding on top of 606 right now. Chains are still pointed down here for SPY and Qs, so looks like we could not even get a cross up here on Qs. So put 5 is still here, still have that 1 minute arrow showing. So remember, if we start coming down, we would definitely look for 525. The expected move is right there. We do start to come down. DIA is still slowly moving up here. Remember, DIA can hold on to 443. There is some OI at 444, and right underneath 445, there's a 9 EMA daily there. So if it does start to move up, we could see that happen. And looks like the daily on Qs is overbought. You guys should see 90s on your daily. That's what I'm seeing on mine. Now I've got to put 15 here on Qs. Just really waiting for it. We do have 15 minutes until 10 a.m. That's when smart money typically comes in, so maybe we're just waiting for 10. We did start to form some gold squeezes here on Qs, so sometimes you just have to wait. Yep, DIA got a little overbought here. Chain's still pointed up for DIA right now. But you've got Qs just really hanging on to 527 all morning. So I'm just going to be writing it again. So for the price action, we do have that contraction, guys. So it's on multi time frames here. We've got 4 time frames, just a 5 minute through the 1 hour. Got those gold squeezes, so you know price can be a lot of volatility with those squeezes, right? It's just telling you, hey, there's a lot of buyers and sellers here in this range. So until we break this range, we're just gonna stay inside of the bands until that happens. So just gonna have to wait until, you know, maybe that's gonna happen second half. We could see maybe during retracement. So it would be puts below 607, right, to 606, then to 605. We've got 604, and then there is some OI at 602 and then 600. So, if we do start to come down, we would be looking for these levels here. And here's another put 5 here on Q's. It disappeared but came right back, and DI is back under 443. Still very close to that 21 EMA daily. And this whole time, we've been pointed down on the chain for SPY and Q's, so sometimes you just got to give the market time to settle. We had PPI come out, I think jobless claims, so. Yep, we're just dipping under 606, but very, very close to it, just in and out with it. And we have about 10 minutes until 10, so might just have to wait. But signals are sticking. We have this 1 minute arrow. SPY just has not been able to cross up. It definitely tried, but it's been under the Ichimoku this whole time, still under that golden fib too. And look at Q's, kind of the same thing. These signals just are not going away. And SPY is back under 606 again. Q's looks like it's trying to come down here to the bottom of 527. You've got DIA slowly trying to come back down here. It's, not really doing too much, just kind of hanging around. And look at Q's under 527. We've been having these put signals for a while. Chain's been pointing down. Here's Q's again. We could dip back under 527. Yep, here's 526 again. But we've been holding on to 527 this whole morning, so we're definitely going to have to break under here just to continue moving down. Same thing with SPY. It's just back and forth with 605, 606. Got about 8 minutes till 10. So we also had that ECB interest rate, and I think they just decided on that 25% cut again, so it's not going to be a 50 BP basis cut. So whenever they do the next rate cuts, it's just going to be a 25% cut. So then PPI, and we had jobless claims as well. I'm trying to see what jobless claims came out as this morning. Did have some signals disappear here for Qs, but still in this squeeze. DI is dipping back under that 21 EMA daily. It did get overbought, so it had to come and cool off, but still hanging on to this Ichimoku. We're still well above it. Chain is starting to turn around just a little bit. And those signals just came back on Qs, so I mean, look at SPY. It's really just starting to slowly move down here. But 605 is really big demand zone, so it's not going to be the easiest thing to plow through. Sometimes you just have to give it a minute and just wait for it. Yep, chain's been pointing down for SPY for this whole time. Slowly moving down here. You've got Q's making its way back to trying to get under 527 again. Still DIA just sticking right to this 21 EMA daily. So it could just be a timing thing. Sometimes you just have to wait for it to start to move. Yep, SPY's been hanging out here this whole morning, so if we do drop under, we should start to see some movement. Sitting right on top of that 50 fib, too. Yep, slowly starting to move down. But it's just holding right onto this level, so as long as it's holding above, it's not going to go anywhere. SPY is getting to the bottom of 527 again, so I mean, we're just really waiting for it to get under 527 and just hold. We do have the fibs just sitting right here. Expected move is still sitting on 525, so we've got 5 minutes until 10, so maybe smart money's going to start to pick up the pace here. Got SPY slowly starting to move down. Look at DIA, got back underneath that 21 EMA daily. Yeah, it looks like Q's is just really hanging on to 527 here. Just a little relentless to let go, and you've got SPY just still hanging right here. Um, Hanging on to this 50 fib. It's getting oversold every time it gets here. 3 minutes until 10. You've got DIAs just still hanging around this 21 EMA daily, so if it gets back up, it's probably going to try to do 440, 443 again, and, you know, if we do see some continuation, we could look for that first level here is 444. Got about a minute until 10 a.m. Looks like SPY's already making its way back up to 606 right now. We're still been underneath this Ichimoku for the whole time. Same thing for SPY and Qs, but for DIA, that's the only one where we are above it right now. Qs, chain started to turn around just a little bit. Same thing on SPY. DIA's pointing back up. Now we're getting back on top of this 21 EMA daily. So sometimes you just have to wait, right? We're holding on top of this fib here for SPY, big demand zone. Still in contraction. So until this breaks, we're not coming down. Here comes some more signals here for SPY. Got the P1H and the put 15, but just disappeared. Looks like we have a 5-minute white tiger squeeze here for Qs, and it just turned 10 a.m. So now you guys can see the price action starting to pick up volume. Oh, that P1H came back here on SPY, put 15. A couple more signals came here on Qs. So, every time we come up, we just have not been able to cross up. DI is just still hanging on to this level right here. It just has not been able to break away from it. Chains still have no strength to the upside here. Yep, we're just in and out with these signals right now. I know they keep appearing here on Qs. So as far as Qs, we really just have this 5-minute white tiger. So I'm just going to have to wait. We will see the price action start to be a little bit more aggressive. With these white tiger squeezes, stuff can start to move fast. It's just super volatile. So that's the only thing that we have to look out for this white tiger right now. Yep, we're already back under 527 here for Qs. Remember we were talking about this earlier. So 527 was something that we were looking at, right? We're still under 528. So starting to come down here. Signals are starting to stick. We see that P1H that came here for SPY. Chain started to point back down. Still in this contraction here. So would like to see if we can squeeze out. But if we do start to come back up, this signal probably will disappear. So yep, SPY is testing the same area again. So if we drop under this 50, we should start to come down. Big, big demand zone. So once you break demand, that does become supply. They're kind of like interchangeable, right? So sometimes you just got to wait. We've got DIA coming back under that 21. Chain turned around again. Qs is still pointed down. Signals are still here. It's just a waiting game at this point. Oh, look at DIA, got the 1 minute arrow. Now it's getting to the bottom of 442 here. So this is going to drag down SPY if it does start to pick up the pace. You still have got Qs trying to hang on to this 527. So if you are looking at Qs, we do need to get under that. Just this white tiger makes it a little problematic. Just stuff is going to be moving super fast. But here comes DIA. We could see 441. Yep, there's 441 on DIA. Remember, we have some big OI here, 441 and 440. Now we're back into this 1 hour gold squeeze on Qs. So, I mean, it could just be a second half type of day if we just are contracting the whole morning. We do have a 30-year bond auction at 1. So, if we don't move till then, we could see some movement second half. But for right now, we're just chopping around. So, what you can typically see in the bands, especially, white tigers and just a small range, it's not really a place to go until we break out. So, this is a little bit patience testing, until we do start to move. But for right now, we got all signals telling us, hey, we're, pointing down. Sometimes you just have to wait. But, after we do consolidate like this for a while, there should be some type of pop. So, whenever that's going to come, should be soon. Should see something. So also remember for Qs, we have a gap that's basically until 5:30. So if price just starts to push back up, maybe if it just wants to fill a gap, if it does start to head back up, there is a almost a $3 gap up here. So and DIA is still coming down, still right on top of that Ichimoku. It's been above it the whole morning, so now it looks like it's trying to drop under, but it's still holding on. So we did get I believe our 30 minutes are still bearish here on Qs. So, I mean, if we do cross down on that 1 hour, this is the 1 hour for Qs right now. We should get a signal when that happens. If it does happen soon, we should get a signal from the 1 hour for Qs. Whenever that does take place, we should see something. Oh, we're starting to move here for SPY, starting to pick up the pace just a little bit. Chain's been just stair stepping down. You guys can see just gradually been pointing lower. Still have got Qs pointed up a little bit, but no strength just yet. But look at DIA. We got another P5 here. So we were talking about some levels to look out for DIA. Of course, 441. But if we're following the game plan and applying that for DIA too, I mean, look at 443, right? So anything under here, start to get some put signals, seeing chain pointing down, see some momentum. We could start to look to these levels down here. Like DIA has been moving down past couple days, market's been moving up, so Just crossed down here. Got the 1 minute arrow. Sometimes these are earlier indications of an entry, right? So it looks like, we are at 441. So if we drop under that, look, the expected move is right underneath 440. And it did just finally catch strength here on the chain as well. And here's another put 5 for Qs. Look at SPY. We're dropping under the 50. This is a huge demand zone. So if we're able to escape out of here, we should try to come down to this expected move. And also, by this expected move, the 90 MA daily is right here. So, gives us further confidence that if we do start to come down, we could see this like even more. Just starts to make sense. Yep, this is the pop we were talking about, you guys. If you grab SPY puts anywhere over here, definitely was a good idea. Seeing all these signals pointed down. Could have benefited from this pop right here. Now we're just trying to see, like, can we hold this? Chain turn back around on Qs so fast. Yep, here's that P1H. We just talked about this. And you guys can see down here, this was once cyan, like the 1 hour, but then it turned bearish. See that magenta just changed. Look at SPY, you guys. It's starting to push out over here. 90 MA daily is right on top of that expected move. No longer in the 15 or 30-minute gold squeeze. And look at this P1H is sticking here on Q, so you definitely could have gotten puts anywhere over here as well. Yeah, we're still in this white tiger squeeze, so... Oh, now it just turned back to gold for Qs. I want to see if we can just get out of here. Get out of this 526. Yep, here comes SPY. We were talking about this. So when you see the price consolidate and contract this close, you just know that you should be expecting a pop, right? And we got all these signals, so it was just a matter of time before this happened. After 10, we really started to pick up the pace a little bit. DIA just could not sustain 443, right? And now look at SPY. So you definitely could have grabbed any puts over here for SPY when you saw these signals. You just have to wait. Same thing on Qs, just a waiting game. We just, every time we came up, couldn't even cross up. Sometimes you just have to be patient with it. And look at the chains. They were pointed down this whole time. I mean, we never really caught strength on SPY Qs on the chain. Did anybody else grab puts, or you guys still haven't taken anything? If you did, just make sure to post some profits in the chat and tag me, tag your leaders. Yep, look at Qs, no longer in that white tiger. We'd like to see it drop under 526. We've got that first expected move right at 525, and we're getting to the bottom of 526 right now. You still have DIA kind of just hanging on to this Ichimoku right now. SPY pop back up here. So we're still not completely squeezed out just yet, but we did have a small pop.
Yeah, I got into some spy puts. I got up to 50%. I cut most of them.
Okay.
Let's see if we get past 605. I got the 605.
Okay. Yeah, that was definitely a good move. I mean, 605, that thing has been holding up, so. Yeah, we wick right off of this golden fib on Q's. It's just still have this P1H. And DI just moved right back to 442. It's just kind of in a sensitive zone right now. We're still waiting on SPY, so we squeezed out of everything. We just have this 1 hour gold just remaining here. Oh, here's another pop on Q's. We could be getting to the bottom of 526 again. This looks like a lot of stuff going on. Just trying to squeeze out. Remember, for SPY, we've got this 9 EMA daily right there. So if we break 605, we could see something, could see a landing zone, first zone over here. But, you know, that's just if we can break this 605. And DI has just popped right back up to 442, so it's just been holding on. If it does come back down, I would like to see 440. If it does have some more room to go, maybe we get some more put signals, but right now it's just kind of hovering around 442. You've got Qs just hanging on to 526. We haven't gotten to 525 just yet, and we're still in this squeeze. Yep, looks like Q's has a pop up right here. It's just holding on to this golden fib right now. Chain's still pointed down, but you know, just understand when we're in these squeezes, like these bands, when we get like to these bands, there's a lot of buyers and sellers. It's just a lot of energy trapped within these bands. So until we're able to break, and then we just got back into the white tiger as well, so it can be a little chaotic until we start to squeeze out. But we're still in the band. Now it's saying that we're back into this gold squeeze. So I know these contractions days, they can be a little bit more testing. So sometimes you're not going to get the move when you want it. You just have to take small moves. Like, you know, SPY, you could have gotten this small move right here. Q's could have gotten a small move too. Yep, here's a pop right here back on Q's. Remember these white tigers? You're going to see the price action just move super volatile, super fast, really aggressive. Yeah, it looks like this golden fib did hold on for Q's. It never was able to get underneath it. It just wicked it. And same thing here on SPY. We dropped under that 50, but popped right back up. So as long as we're holding on to that, we're still going to be moving up, and we're still in these squeezes. So just can't expect for them to break. Sometimes it may look like it, but it likes to tease you sometimes. So definitely have to wait.
All right, Gabby, I gotta go to the big boys club now.
I feel you. All right, I'll see you later.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna hold on to one put just for a little hedge and see how it goes.
Yeah,
If we
yeah.
drop below, I got rid of everything else. So thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Yeah,
Have
no
a good
worries.
one.
I'll catch you later.
Bye.
So we did just get a 1 minute arrow here on Q's. If we do end up crossing up, we should see a C5. Same thing on SPY here. We came back above that 50 fib. It just was not able to break. A lot of contraction too, so we can't just expect for us to squeeze out immediately. Sometimes it does take time. Remember, we do have a gap for Q's up until 5:30, and for SPY, I think it's like a $2 gap on SPY. Yep, I think until 607.40. So it's about a dollar gap on SPY. So if we do start to move back up, that could be filled. But we do not have anything on DIA. Chain pop backed up here for Q's, but still no strength just yet. Remember, we do have a pretty big gap to the upside here for Q's. Looks like we just could not break this golden fib here for Q's. So, I mean, if you did take puts, it was basically in and out, just to that golden fib here. And the signal did leave for that P1H. So sometimes when those signals first drop, you want to see if they settle, because if they don't, it'll just disappear and it could just pop back up. So you guys see we already went back into this 1 hour gold squeeze, and looks like the range is now it's right above 530, so just sitting right on top of that EM, that expected move. And we should be seeing a signal soon on Qs if we do cross up here. Finally got some strength here on the chain for Qs. See that brightness just coming in on the chain? We should be seeing a C5 once we get the cross, which is right here. So we should be seeing that. No longer in that white tiger. So now we've got this Ichimoku right here, right up above. Yep, here's 528. You've got DI that got back to 442 right now. So if it does decide to fill, it could do that. We've got $2 left for this fill. Remember, the market does not like those holes, so we were talking about these gaps. It's until 607.40 for SPY, and then for Qs, basically 530 if it does decide to come up. But we should see that C5 once these two lines cross at 9 net 21 right here. Yep, we're starting to pick up the pace here once we got this strength in the chain. There's the C5 we were talking about, you guys. Looks like we could just cross up this Ichimoku. We could be making our way back up to 530 to fill that gap here for Qs. We wicked off that golden fib and popped right back up. And that C5 did just disappear, so I want to see if it'll come back. There's that C5 again on Qs. So now we just got to get past this Ichimoku. But remember, there's a gap fill, so that's all the way up to 530. If it just continues, we could fill that gap. That'd still be within the range of the squeeze, so we'd still be in the squeeze and not fired out, even if we do fill the gap. So, and now for SPY, looks like we've changed into a 1 hour gold, 1 hour white tiger here for SPY. Got a little overbought here on Qs. Got back into the white tiger here. So, you know, when you see these, you're just going to see prices moving really fast, can be spiky. Chain still pointed up with strength. You got the chain pointed back up here for SPY. No strength just yet, but it did make a heck of a recovery from dropping underneath this fib. Got into the demand zone. Could not break under 605. Had the 1 minute arrow here, so you know we could be getting the C5 pretty soon. Looks like they could be crossing very soon. If it just continues moving up, we should see a signal. All right, guys. So when you do take puts within these bands, just keep in mind like it's not guaranteed to break. So you should definitely be trimming when we get close to the bottom. When we first form these bands, sometimes they will contract for a while before it starts to break. So you should be trimming your profits when we get close. And then once you do see confirmation that we are breaking out, then that's when you would add more, right? But so the contraction is just meant to contract within the band. So until this breaks, you should not expect it just to break out here. As we saw, it just popped right back up. So when we get close to the bottom, you should be taking some profits until you see just more confirmation, more signals, even more strength to the downside. But, until it breaks on these days where we squeeze, you could see us come to the top and to the bottom, just really where these OI levels are, and for it just to pop back up until it decides to break. So definitely make sure you're trimming and taking profits. We did open up really close to the bottom of the band, so really small move here to the downside, even though we saw a lot of signals. Kind of just didn't move, didn't pop out to the downside, right? So I would definitely be trimming and taking profits until we do break out, then you would add more. And here comes the C5 that we were talking about. Right when we get this cross, you guys can see, if you do turn on those EMA lines, you can see exactly when they do cross. I know if you just don't have them, you won't be able to really tell, but when you turn those EMA lines on that edit study, if you just right click it and then click the Cloud Max and show EMA lines, you should see those lines and you'll see when they cross, and then you should expect the signals. That's why the C5 popped up here. Same thing on Qs, you guys can kind of see it. We crossed right here and got the C5. And this whole time DI has just really been creeping up. So same level we were talking about earlier with this 21 EMA daily. It's just been coming back to it, right? We've been staying above that 441, above the Ichimoku this whole time, just have not been able to break under it. Looks like we are getting ready to come back to that 21. Chain just started to turn around, so I want to see if we can get above that. And now I'm on SPY. It looks like we do have a 30-minute white tiger here. You guys can just see in the background, you see on the bands, it's got that third color, that white right there. So now we've got two white tigers here on SPY. Looks like Q's is still hanging underneath this Ichimoku here. Spy did manage to get back above the Ichimoku. It looks like you guys can see that gray dash line right there. Looks like we just recently got above it. So we do have a gap that's, I think it ends at 607.40. It looks like we are getting pretty close to 607. So this is one of those levels that we had here. So 607 has a bit of OI. That's why it's rated as a 4. So if it does break above 607, it does have like 40-50 cents left for that gap fill. But we'd still be within the bands if that happens. So, just be aware. And then for Qs, we got back to 528. If we do finish this gap fill, it'd be a little bit under 530, like 529.80. That's when it'd be done. But we'd still be within the squeeze. So even then, not guaranteed to break it still. But, we'll definitely have to see if we do get back up there. But looks like as we're talking, we're getting right to the Ichimoku here on Qs. Chain's been pointing up. If you did get in calls, it would be good to trim here, just in case we do start to come back and contract just in the same range. Yep, Q's is right on this Ichimoku right now. Chain's been pointing up. You've got Spy getting super close to 607. So, if you did grab some calls here from this arrow, from this 1 minute arrow on Spy, should be taking some profits like right around 607. And you can leave some runners to see if we do end up filling this gap. But I would definitely take a majority of the profits. On these contraction days, you just don't want to assume, because I could understand how you could lose a lot of money on these days. Especially when the market creates those gaps. Sometimes what it'll do, let's say if we gap down, you might see the market have a little bit of a continuation and move down at first, but until you really start to see a lot of those signals come out, a lot of like massive signals, and break in the squeezes, the contraction, it doesn't have to end, right? We could just go right back into it, and it looks like the market again doesn't like those holes. So sometimes it'll tease us, come down a little bit, and then pop back up and fill it. Looks like that's what it's trying to do here. Still not at 607 just yet, but we're very, very close. And we still have DI hanging right underneath this 21 EMA daily. Not really doing much. Yep, looks like Q's is trying to cross above this Ichimoku here. Yep, it's starting to pick up the pace. So we are getting to the top of these bands. So if you did take Q calls, just make sure you're trimming. You can leave some runners to see if we do end up filling this gap, but you have to secure some type of profit. As we can see in these squeezes, is just, it can look like it's moving. We get one candle shot down. That could definitely take out any of your profits. So just make sure you're trimming along the way. And looks like DI could be revisiting. Yep, there's a put 5 on DIA. 1 minute arrow. Just dropped back under 442. So just want to keep our eyes on DIA here. Yep, and we are getting a little overbought here on this 5 minute, so you guys can see how thick these squeeze bands are. So I know Clark likes to talk about, you should think about, when we start seeing these white tigers, just a lot of energy condensed within the bands. Just a lot of buying and selling going on within these small ranges. So that's kind of why we're not really moving much. But on those expansion days, like yesterday, you guys saw how once we overtook 525 on Qs, we just went to 527, then got right to 530. It just, we didn't have any squeezes, no contraction. So the only thing price had to do was really expand. But, typically after those big expansion days, I would always expect contraction. It just is something the market has to do. And just like that, you guys see for SPY, we got right to 607, got a little overbought, and came right back down. You've got DIA had the 1 minute arrow. Got a MACD signal here with the put 5. Did start to creep right on us. Still hanging on to the Ichimoku. Hasn't really been able to leave it this whole day. But chain just started to point down again with some strength. So I would say on days like this, if you guys look at these 1 minute arrows, I know that we don't really have the biggest of ranges when we are in these squeezes, especially if it's not a 4 hour or 2 hour. The ranges, you would expect them to be tinier, right? So how I would kind of look at this is when you see these 1 minute arrows, and you know, if you see the chain pointed down, right? Let's say for example, if you wanted to get into these calls, you guys have those fibs drawn out. If you see that we got this 1 minute arrow right when we just came back above the 50, and look at the chain starting to turn, and when it caught strength, you see this pop. So let's say if you would have entered calls here, I mean, even though it's not going to be anything crazy, this is still almost a dollar move. So you could have, gotten in here, and where could you have taken profit? Definitely, if we're not really expecting to break, I would have taken it right underneath 607. Because even if we would have gotten up here, it still doesn't have to break, right? And we're still within this 5 minute squeeze, so have not broken out, didn't get any additional signals, so definitely would have trimmed up here. And typically when we first create these squeezes, if they do happen in the pre-market, which looks like a lot of them formed, I would never expect these many squeezes to just break off of the morning, like the first hour, first 30. They typically will run till second half, right? We do have a 1 p.m. 30-year bond auction at 1 p.m., so maybe that could be something that could, shake us out of these squeezes. Or, if it does want to contract all day, then we will. But it's just something you have to wait for. You just can't assume that we're going to break. I know, assuming I've lost a lot of money. I mean, it always looks convincing when it gets here, but then it always comes back, right? I mean, we saw kind of cues just going back and forth with this 1 hour gold squeeze. 1 minute it was gone, 1 minute it came back in. So, and now look at how thick this squeeze is. So it can really play with your eyes. So just make sure you're taking profit. So at least you made something. You left the market with something. So this whole time we've had cues just stick right underneath this Ichimoku. Chain still pointed up, but we're just hovering really close to that 528. You got DIA slowly moving down. Looks like we got some more signals here for DIA. Just got a P15. So you guys should see down here on the shared momentum X that 15-minute will turn magenta. And right underneath this 21. Just could not get back above this 21 EMA daily. We did just get a pop back for 528 on Qs. We're talking about this Ichimoku, so looks like it is trying to cross up that. Chain's been pointing up. You've got DIA kind of just struggling. Every time it gets down here, it just has not been able to just break away. You guys can see even pre-market, we've just been sitting right in the center of 441 this whole time. So it looks like if we can get back above this 21 EMA daily and just hold on to it, could start to see us just move back up. But for right now, that chain's just pointed down. It's not really moving much, but here comes Qs. We're still in this really thick 5-minute squeeze, so just be aware. Looks like SPY is trying to come back up as well. Retest that 607. We got overbought again, just in and out on Qs right now. Really trying to hold on to 528. We did cross up that Ichimoku for the first time. It's just been battling it this whole time.
Has there ever been a day that we don't expect to move?
Sometimes it doesn't happen every time. Normally we'll either hit one, either make it to like the upside or downside. But I mean, when you see this contraction, you could just really get the expected move just out of chop. Like it'll just chop around $2 or $3, right? There was one day, I think about a month ago, where the price did not even move past $1. I think it was on SPY. It was a really chaotic day. I know it probably made people pull their hair out of their head, but sometimes. But other times, let's say if the first half is not really doing much, I would just come back second half, right? Because normally the first 30 you should see a lot of volatility first 30. So if that's not happening, if at 10 nothing's happening, we got a little bit, but not really much, right? Um, and sometimes when a lot of those reports come out at the same time, we had a lot this morning. The market has to settle, and then after it's settled and taking it however it wants to take it, then you'll see it move. But it definitely has to digest those reports, right? So I mean, let's say if we just don't see anything, even during retracements kind of flat, I would come back around one and just look at it again and see, okay, are we starting to move here? How does price action look? Are we still in these squeezes? Are we getting close to firing out? But there will be some just really rare days where we won't hit either expected move. There's been some, not that many, but there will be some days where we just don't. But we'll just chop around within that.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm. And you guys can see really Q's just keeps getting overbought every time we get to this 528. So we do have about 30 minutes until that retracement period. Typically Wall Street taking a lunch break. You will see volume start to slow down. Sometimes, recently, you might see a move during retracement period. You just have to kind of get a feel for it. But if we just don't move at all, then I would come back second half at one because we do have that 30-year bond auction. Market typically has a reaction from that, so we could just be waiting for that. And I don't really see any news coming out tomorrow, so probably just be a continuation from whatever happens today. Don't see anything tomorrow. And looks like Q's is trying to come back up again. Chain's still been pointed up here, but want to see if it can, because every time it gets here, it just comes back down and starts to consolidate. So, as long as we're in these squeeze bands, it's just not going to pop out. But like we were talking earlier, there is a gap up here. So if it does start to squeeze out, we start getting to 529, we could be looking to get to 530. But first, we have to get there. Yep, Q's is starting to move up here. Still in this squeeze. We got SPY had just a little pop here, but DI is just been hanging on to this Ichimoku. So that gap fill, like the top of that gap fill for SPY is around like 607.40, 607.30. And for Qs, definitely right under 530 at like 529.80, somewhere around there. DIA is starting to come back up here. Chain did turn just a little bit. Now we're in this 15-minute gold squeeze here for DIA, but the same case still remains. We're still looking at this 21 EMA daily. It's just been hanging around here for a while, so that first OI for DIA would be 444 to the upside. So looks like it's just forming this 15-minute gold squeeze. It looks so small in the back, you guys can barely see it, but. And we just got a C15 to call 1 hour here on SPY. You guys can see on the C15, you see that 15-minute, it just changed to cyan, so no longer is bearish. Got a little pop here on Qs. Call 1 hour on SPY. Let's see if these things stick. So, if we do revisit 607, the thing is, are we just going to come back down, or are we going to be able to kind of push past 607 and fill that gap? Same thing on Qs. Like, are we going to be able to get out of this zone and fill the gap?
Gabby, on QQQ and on your chart at 529, there's a small golden cloud that's forming. What is that right there?
I think this could be. Let me see. I think that's the 15-minute.
And the one above that around at 530.
Yeah, this big one would be the 1 hour. Normally, like the higher the highest time frame, that's going to be like the bigger range. So I think this is the. Could be the 15. Let me go see. So where is that? That's at 529, right? I mean, we can go see. So I would just go to
Yeah,
the time frame. So this is the for the 5 minute, right? I see that one. This little one you're talking about right here, right?
yeah.
Okay, let me see. Yep, this is the 15 minute. I would just go
Okay.
check the just I would grab the level like where it's at. But normally like when they're first starting, they might be super thin. So sometimes you may not even see them or realize until you peep down here, but looks like the 30 minutes no longer in gold, but that 15 it just you could see it just got gold right here, so just a lot of
Okay.
contraction. But at least we know when we move out, like when we squeeze out, we should get some expansion, so but the only problem is like until that happens, just gotta wait, right? So
Yeah. And also the strength on QQQ, since it's in white now, that's strength to the upper side, upside, right?
in white.
Even though we're under, we're bearish on the 15 and the 30, right? We're just showing that we're more likely to be going bullish
Yeah, I mean the
now
trend
in
is
the weekly
still
statement.
the trend is still bullish, right? So as long as that daily, that 4 hour, trend, and we're still above those fibs, until we start to come down, then we could be looking like, oh, what's going on here. But I mean, for the most part, it clearly could not break. We couldn't even see 525, right? So, and there's a gap, and we're already like, I would say like 25% to that gap. So, I would definitely feel more bullish. I think that PPI that came out was good. So sometimes you just have to wait. Like yesterday, when you see the market move like that, you kind of already can. I don't want to say can guess what's going to happen the next day. It's either going to be a lot of contraction or it's going to take a while for it to take off again. So, I would always be like, okay, well, I wasn't surprised really when we woke up to some contraction. It's just normal, right? But it looks like we're finally starting to move at 11, which took like an hour and a half just to see anything. So, and there is 607 on SPY. We were talking about this, you guys. Signals held, got even more signals here. So SPY has maybe like 40, 50 cents, 30, 40 cents for that gap fill. And look at Q's. We're talking about, once we crossed up this Ichimoku, just started to inch up. Even DIA is starting to push back up. Just got the 1 minute arrow. So if we do get a cross here, which looks like it's pretty close to happening, we should see a C5 and maybe test this 21 EMA daily again. Now we're seeing on Q's no longer in that 5 minute gold, but it's still right here. But if you are taking plays in these squeeze bands, I would not buy a contract so far out the money, because the further away you buy it, if we have a candle that moves down or we just start to come down, just on our journey up, your contract is going to lose value so much faster. Those deltas, like if you're buying a contract with a delta under 0.20, you're already kind of risking a little bit more. So I would always stay, within 1 to 2 strikes out the money. And when you're in these squeezes, I was buy as close as you can, especially for real money. The closest you can afford would be better, kind of save you a little bit more. But I definitely would not. I would not be buying like a 612 or a 611 on SPY. That's just way too far. Especially like down here, I would not be buying that far out. We've got Q's finally getting to that 200 SMA as well. Chain's been pointed up. So I'm on the 15 minute for Q's. So I mean, same thing still applies. You guys see 9 and 21. Once these cross, we should be getting a C15. So they're pretty close to crossing here. Chains pointed up still, and you guys can really see like the other bands on this other time frame. I think this is the 1 hour band right here. So once that crosses, we should be seeing a signal. Looks like DI is finally starting to move. Chain turned around. No strength just yet, but we could be seeing that soon. We did get that call 30 here on DIA. It's a little in and out, just disappear, but we're back above the Ichimoku, which is good. if you guys are taking paper trades, just make sure to post those paper profits in the paper profit section. It's just, for participation. Your leaders need to see that you're taking trades. I know it can be a little taxing to take those screenshots, but even if you're red or, however you did, especially for newbies, if you're just learning the system, like everybody's red when they're first starting. Sometimes you're green, sometimes you're red, but definitely start posting in that section so we can see that you're taking trades and just tag your leaders. Yeah, looks like we got a little overbought here on Qs. You guys should see 90s on your candle, so I mean, we're still not completely squeezed out just yet. You can see that 15-minute band just right there. Yep, here comes SPY. We just got back to 607. These signals are holding here. And we still do have the 30-minute, that 1 hour white tiger. We've got a little bit left for that gap fill on SPY. Yep, it's starting to move here. You've got DIA finally starting to move as well, so it's definitely going to help out SPY. We should be seeing a C15 on Q soon. Once that 15-minute crosses up, we should get a signal, so could be seeing that any minute now. Yep, Q slowly starting to move here. We had DI just get to this 21 EMA daily, just wicked it. We haven't caught strength just yet on this chain, but when we do, we could see a pop if it does show some strength here. We still have this 15-minute squeeze just forming, so typically those don't break once we form. So let's say if we just continue to stay in this range right here, we could just be waiting for that bond auction at 1 p.m. Looks like SPY is just really battling with this 607. So, we're still deep into this contraction. So, we'll definitely not make any assumptions that these are just going to break out. We'll definitely be keeping your eyes on it. If you're trading SPY, definitely keep DIA up so you can monitor it, see what it's doing. Here comes DIA coming back to this 21 EMA daily. You still got Q's just hanging right under this 200 SMA. Still hanging on to 528. So we got about $1.50 left for that gap fill. And SPY really is just caught up on 607 right now. So remember, like, the closer that we get to the top of these bands, there's going to be a lot more turbulence. And we still have a lot more hours left in the day, so yep, we did get a little overbought here for Qs. Still have not broken out. And we do have 15 minutes left until that retracement period starts to come. So, like I said, sometimes it'll do what the retracement period does, lower volume, just trade in a even, tighter range. And then right when 1 p.m. comes around, we've got that report, and that's when the second half will start. So if you still have not taken any trades, and retracement period is slow, I would definitely come back at 1 p.m. There could be some opportunities there. SPY's back at that 607. Chain's still been pointing up. We've got DIA. We've got some more signals here for DIA. So let's see if we can, when we attempt this 21 again, if we can get over it. Still no strength on the chain just yet. And Q's still been hanging out around here. So, still gap fill left for that. SPY's just been back and forth with 607. If DIA does start to push up, this can help SPY out, just kind of break away from the 607. So just gonna keep our eyes on it.
I have another question. So in the momentum chain,
Mm-hmm.
we're seeing a cyan only because that we're in the squeeze and it's still in pressure, also in the squeeze, right?
You're talking about the ADX.
Yes, and for SPY.
Sorry, what are you asking for the ADX?
Oh wait, so for SPY, right? So we're all signs are pointing that we have momentum to the upside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the momentum chain is pointing up, but also we see in cyan and in the background there. Is that only because we're in the squeeze and also there's also selling pressure inside the squeeze?
Yeah, you can look at it like that. I mean, there are buyer sellers in there, but you can gradually see it getting lighter. You see how like in the beginning of the morning we were headed down, you see that brightness, but then you can start to see it really rumiate out and get lighter. You see, so now there's a lot of black in the background, so you could start to see like
Yeah,
a blend soon. So you could typically see that. Same thing with DIA here. See how like it had a pop, then that momentum started to come in, and then it disappeared, and now it looks like it's trying to come back again as it caught strength. So you'll see it like gradually lighten as that kind of leaves, right? See how it's just getting lighter. You see like it'll even come
yeah.
like in a shape. So we do have less than 10 minutes till that retracement period comes. Looks like Q's really tried to get to 529, couldn't quite get there. Still within these squeezes, still have a lot of contraction here on SPY. So, we could just be waiting for that 1 p.m. report. That's the only thing we have left today. I think we do have some type of earnings after hours as well that could affect, what we trade. So, we've got DI slowly creeping up here to that 21 EMA daily. And you still have SPY hanging around 607. Chain's been pointing up. Still within this 1 hour signal, right? Looks like DIA just caught strength on the chain as well. You guys see it made a whole recovery. It really just could not get past this Ichimoku, just was hanging around the middle of that 441. And Clark just posted about the squeezes, so I know on his I think his recap on Monday he was just talking about the white tigers. You could just see a lot of chop when you see them. It's just a lot of buyers and sellers just in the same area, and they're buying and selling, so it's gonna trip out the price action. It's just gonna be moving all over the place. So sometimes like when you just see the max of the 1 hour squeeze and it's just forming a pre-market, I mean you could still take trades, but you're not gonna really be expecting the biggest of moves. So sometimes, coming back at 1 p.m., it might be a little smoother for you. Maybe some of those, maybe we could be firing out then. But sometimes, if you don't really see something nice in the first half, I would just come back second half, right? Set your alerts at these big OIs, right? Set an alert at 607, set an alert at 606. And if they go off, then go check your charts and see, like, are we still, what are we doing? Are we still in there? Still in the squeezes? Looks like Q's is definitely slowing down here. But we're still on top of 528, so And look at DI, got right back on top of that 21 EMA daily. It's kind of just been slowly moving here. See, with that 1 minute arrow, we've got the call 30 and just slowly been inching up ever since we did cross up. Just been slowly moving. And SPY is super close to that 607 again, but we're still right at the top here, right at this first OI at 607. Yep, here's a little pop here on SPY. So remember, you'll see the price consolidate for a while, then you'll get a pop, and you'll just see it, after it pops again, you'll see it just consolidate, just a lot of contraction. When in a really small range, then you'll see a pop again. So, yep, here's a little pop on DI as well. Yep, we're back to 607 here. You've got DI slowly moving up. We still have these white tiger squeezes, so, just like Clark said, it's just Chopzilla right now. A lot of choppy back and forth price action. DI is slowly moving up here. We're still in this 15-minute gold squeeze, but bands are super thin. We are pointed up on the chain, but we are getting pretty close to that retracement period. Sometimes we'll move during it, sometimes really won't do much of anything, so All right, you guys. It is just about 11:30